before you actually start on a CV or personal statement, you have to kind of know yourself, right? Know thyself first. So there's some weird things that we're not going to do right now, but I want you to do over the next few days. All right. So there's this famous guy. He's a motivational speaker, life coach named Anthony Robbins. And he recommends asking yourself these questions every morning. It turns out that if you actually do this every morning and you do this or do this every night, you have less stress, you feel better, you're a happier person, you have a better day. So that's just an added tidbit for life. But if you're going to sit down and write about yourself, I highly recommend doing this at least that one time. So you want to ask yourself, what am I happy about in my life right now? What am I excited about in my life right now? What am I proud about in my life right now? What am I grateful about in my life right now? What am I committed to? And who do I love and who loves me? And by talking about these things to yourself, these aren't for anyone else to see or read. It helps one, focus you and get you in the right mindset. It actually makes you feel better because you start remembering that there's life outside of medicine. There's things I care about outside of medicine. There's people who care about me outside of medicine. And it really just makes you feel better. So one, do this every morning, you feel better. But two, do this before you sit down to do any type of brainstorming session, before you start working on your CV or do any of the things that we talk about. All right. So now, after you kind of get in the mindset, then you go and you start asking yourself, well, who are you as a doctor? Right? That's what we care about when we're hiring you as a doctor. It'd be nice if you're fun to hang out with, but that doesn't matter. We want to know who you are as a doctor. So you got to ask yourself that question. And in fact, the way I want you to work on it is you're going to say, I'm a doctor who loves kids. Good. All right. That's a good start. I'm a doctor who loves working on Epic. I'm a doctor who loves writing notes, right? You want to have a list. So this is an example. So I came up with, I think it's 12 examples here, right? I'm a doctor who loves the ICU. I'm a doctor who loves seeing kids smile once a day once they're better. Read through these quickly just so you can see the different examples, and then we'll move on. All right, so these are not all of me. These are just ideas that I came up with. But you want to write, just keep writing. I'm a doctor who, I'm a doctor who, I'm a doctor who. And it's just an exercise to kind of get it all out on paper. Writing about yourself is one of the hardest things to do. So when you're doing it in these small little questions, it makes it so much easier. All right. So the next thing is I have this thing called Monitor Your Life, right? So this is the monitor that you're going to fill out to kind of help you remember who you are when you're going to start sitting down and writing. This process is really good for writing out your CV, making sure you include important things that you may have forgotten otherwise, helping you write your personal statement, where your goals are, what you want to do, where you want to be, how much you want to make, all that, helping you pick the job that you truly want to be at and will be happy at. So, include salary, people you like to work with or maybe don't like to work with, where you might want to be. And then also it helps you then prepare for your rest of your application and your personal statement. So you don't have to fill this out, but this is something that will really, really improve your overall writing in the long run, because when you have these simple things to fill out, it makes it so much easier to put them all together. So again, this is something, I won't share it right now, but this is something we'll send to you guys as soon as maybe later this evening or tomorrow. So then again, you fill out your knowledge, right? So for me, you can see I wrote down, I don't anymore, but I had a good knowledge of anatomy, critical care, cardiopulmonary interactions, the ICU, surgery, cardiothoracic stuff, sickle cell disease, and cerebral perfusion. I could go on and on and on, but I was getting tired filling this out. I wasn't looking for a job at the time. All right, and then, so working conditions, there are certain things that you might like. Now, when you're doing this, you're not thinking about the job you're applying for. You're not thinking about the fellowship you're going for. If you want to go into hematology, oncology, don't think, oh, well, I want an infusion center, and I want this, and I want that. No, just write down the stuff that you like, or also consider including stuff that you don't like, because you really should avoid those things. What I tell people, I learned so much about job searching. I learned so much about billing and coding. I learned so much about how to work with people who are awful. I learned so much about how to take horrible criticism. I'm still working on that. But I learned so much from working there as an attending. And it helped me realize the stuff I never want to go back to. So I have a list of stuff that if this hospital has those things, never go in there. It doesn't matter because I won't be happy. So those are important for you to write those things out as well. Because let's say you all want to go to CHOP. That's great. You want to be a pediatrician at CHOP. You want to be a fellow at CHOP. But maybe CHOP has a whole bunch of, Pennsylvanians, and you really don't like Pennsylvanians. That would be a problem. Okay. So again, writing down what your purpose in life is. Who knows what our purpose in life is? We change as a person every 5 to 7 years anyway. That was made up on like mystic science, but it's still kind of true. I'm a very different person than I was 7 years ago. Now I have 5 kids. Back then I only had like 3 kids. So I have less sleep now than I ever did in my life, despite residency. It's amazing. So your purpose in life will change, and you may not know how to articulate it. So I tell people, like, write the simplest things. You may want to write, like, I like helping people. That's good. That's a good start. And we're going to go through how to expand on those shortly, okay? Because just being able to write stuff on paper, I think, is the hardest thing that all of us have. Out of everybody in our residency program, maybe one person's a good writer. Everybody else who thinks they're a good writer just thinks they're a good writer. But most of us don't think we're good writers. This is really hard for us. So then, again, making sure you know the people you like and the people you don't like. I didn't fill out salary goals and stuff like that, but you want to, have salary goals, not as a fellow, but as anything else. You may want to consider putting ultimate salary goals, maybe when you're 45, 50 years old, what you want to be making by then, not just what you want to make next year. You also may want to say what you won't work for. You'd rather not work than get paid crap. Stuff like that. And also your responsibility. Maybe you want to be a CEO, CMO. Maybe you just want to do the bare minimum and enjoy life. Not that you can't as a CMO, but trust me, you're not enjoying life the same way as a general pediatrician versus the general pediatrician's enjoying life a lot more than the CMO. All right, anyway, so you guys get the point. Using this worksheet to help you really identify your wants, needs of who you are, not only helps you with your application and job finding, helping you discover really where maybe you should look for a job, but then also you hold on to it and you fill it out again, 5 years from now when you're job searching again. And you see how you change, and you go back and read the other stuff and you're like, oh my God. But it really helps you. All right, I'm going to have to speed up. All right. Now, so once you've kind of done that, then write out every job you've ever had, including the ice cream job you had when you were 14 years old, who the manager was, and any other neat little things about that job. Write every job, every committee, every organization, every club, everything. Write it all out. You are going to need some of that material at least one point again in your future. And if you have one master document, it doesn't have to be perfectly formatted. You just want it all on there. When you guys get your license, if you haven't already, you are going to have to go through FCVS. FCVS, it's a great service. U.S. grads don't have to use it. All us foreign grads have to use it, but I would definitely recommend it to everybody. It helps keep you track of absolutely everything. Just make sure if you use it that you print it out or save the electronic copy and know where you saved it. Because after 6 months, it expires, so you can't keep downloading it. I went to look for mine before this talk yesterday, and I don't know where I saved it. I can't find it. But it keeps track of absolutely everything for you. Anyway, you want to vomit everything up. Just type, or write. Everything. No formatting, just write it all down. All right, so then that's going to be your master document, all right? It's going to have everything, anything you could think of. The other thing when you write these organizations, the jobs, the training, everything, you want to make sure you include the city, the state, the time period that you were there, and whoever your mentor, manager, whoever the person you reported to was. You are going to need all of that information every time you sign up for credentials at any hospital. 30 years from now, if you're going to a new hospital, you are going to have to reiterate this nonsense. Some of it's nonsense in 30 years from now, right? And some of you guys aren't even 30 yet, right? So imagine double your life from now and you're still going to have to regurgitate that information. Then you want to create a master file as well. So it's going to have that document with all of that information. It's going to have copies of your diplomas, any transcripts that you have. Any letters of recommendation that you got your hands on, you want to hold on to. USMLE score transcripts you want to hold on to. your CV, updated personal statement, or rather updated CV and old personal statements, proof of citizenship, just to have copies of them. And you want to have it all in one file in the computer, or maybe also print it out in one file folder as well. So then that way you always are able to hand it to people. Once you guys have your FCVS, that is really going to help you. Speaking of which, FCVS, you have to do it when you are going to apply for a state license. If you are looking for a job in any other state other than New York, go and start applying for a job in that a license in that state. States can take 2 to 3 months, sometimes even longer, for foreign medical graduates who have things in other languages to get your license. And you cannot practice medicine in that state without the license, unless you already have a New York license and it's they respect, I'm forgetting the right word, they respect the fact that you're a doctor already. So you really need to make sure you get it. That was advice given to me back when I was a fellow. I think it was this time, it was March. It was March 23rd, because I went back and looked at the date. March 23rd, I was told, Mike, just apply for the license ASAP if you're going to even considering a job in New Jersey. So I did. I finally got my license for New Jersey, I think on like June 27th. That's nuts, right? I think part of it was me delaying getting my fingerprints done. But consider applying. If it's too expensive, wait a little bit longer. But if you're really dedicated, I'm going to California, I'm applying to 15,000 jobs in California, maybe you should start working on the license right now so you don't have to wait. All right, also, one of those things is dates of attendance at hospitals from medical schools with preceptors' names. California is one of those places that needs that stuff, okay? So make sure if you never know where life is going to take you. Again, we're different people every 5 to 7 years. So make sure that you have that information. It may be on your transcript, okay? All right, now we're gonna go towards working on your CV. Okay, so topic headings. These are the topic headings that I recommend. If you don't have things that fall under these topic headings, eliminate them. I am going to give you something that has all of them except for the last part, special skills and hobbies. So just remember special skills and hobbies. All right, so once you have all that information kind of thrown out, all of that is what's going to help you write about your accomplishments and fill out a CV. Sometimes on your CV, you need to put a little clarifiers of what the job was, what you did, and what you accomplished. As you advance in your career, you kind of take that stuff off. But right now, you guys are going to have a CV that's maybe as short as 2 pages, as long as 4 pages at most, right? So if it's 4 pages, maybe you don't add qualifiers. But if it's 2 pages, you may want to add some qualifiers to things, just to bump it up to 3 pages, but also to give some unique information. And that unique information can really help you on interviews. So what I recommend using is a thing called SMART formatting, right? So I have there where it says, tell me about the thing you wrote on your CV, right? Because we're going to ask you what was on your CV. And you want to talk about the situation, the metrics, the action, the result. And then you want to translate that into how that makes you a great doctor for their practice, for that fellowship, right? So this is just an example. Tell me about the research about when you worked in Dr. Aranda's lab. And then so, you're not going to write all this on a personal statement necessarily. You're not going to write all this on a CV, but you may want to try to take snippets of this. But then this also works towards when you're on your interview. So you write down everything out, the situation. I worked in the lab to do this. The metrics, we were looking for these things. Action, I designed an experiment. Results, we looked at VEGF. And then translate, this showed that, low O2, high O2 tension or greater than an FiO2 of 30% was really bad for the lungs. And we did this right as a year before the new NRP came. They're not new anymore. The guidelines that you guys know for NRP. So it was a really hot topic at the time, so it was cool. And so it really helped me on interviews. This same exact thing comes to when you're trying to talk about your attention to detail with patients. There's a situation. There was a patient on the floor who I noticed was complaining of this weird chest pain. Metrics, I needed to make sure I knew what was going on with this chest pain. Action, I drew cardiac labs, we got a chest x-ray and everything else. And the result, I was anal about following up the results, and I was able to figure out what was going on right away. I called the attending, I called the cardiologist, and we were able to move this kid over to the PICU, save his life, and I'm a great lifesaver, so that's why you should hire me. No, you don't say it like that, but that's kind of how you use that form. That SMART format, is very helpful in trying to formulate ideas to put on your personal statement, but not directly write onto. And it's even more helpful when it comes to your interviews. So that's something that you want to use for both of those.